Ty with Ty, the dog guy on the daily, and I want to talk to folks who look at their dogs as if it's their kids. Now, I love my dogs, I love my kids. Sometimes I feel like I love my dogs as much as I love my kids. But even if I do, even if you do, even if you love your dog as much as you love your kids, there has to be a distinction drawn. There has to be. And the reason why is knives. I don't mean that to be cryptic, but the reason why is knives. Your kids do not walk around with knives. Now, I'm saying this in general because maybe this isn't the case with a few of you, but I'm guessing it is. Your kids don't walk around with knives ready and willing to stab other people, other kids, at any given moment. Your kids don't walk around with knives with the instinct that if they're afraid to pull out that knife and start stabbing. That sounds pretty extreme. And for kids, in our human world, that's incredibly extreme. But in the dog world, this is not extreme. Your dog has knives for teeth. Thousands of years of evolution has given your dogs literal daggers inside of its mouth. And strength within the jaws to actually do damage. Now, some of these little guys can't do a ton of damage. Probably every dog can break skin and do some actual damage. And some dogs can go far beyond that and put somebody in the hospital and or kill somebody, which kids can too, right? Kids are able, kids are able to grab a knife, physically grab a knife and put it in somebody. But it's not like there. That's, for the overwhelming majority of kids, that's not like a component of who they are. I have an 11-year-old daughter, and she's my oldest, and she picks on her little sisters, and they push and they fight and they pull hair, and they get in scuffles. And so this physicality, this rough and tough, like it's there within our kids, right? But the desire to kill, maim, put somebody out of commission, it's just not there. And so if you are looking at, like I say, within our dogs it is, your sweet little fluffy goober, there's something in that dog, and every dog, that says when push comes to shove, pull out your knife and stab somebody. Now, for some dogs it's deep in the recesses. You would have to do a lot to access it. Other dogs it's much closer to the surface. But you as a dog owner have to recognize that it exists. You have to recognize that exists. Because when you do, what are the decisions that you make? You probably don't leave your kids alone with a dog that's walking around with knives that can use them. I've had dogs and kids for quite some time now, and as much as I trust my dogs, I'm still careful about that relationship. Because my dogs are walking around with knives inside of their mouth. When you understand this concept, you think differently about how your guests interact with your dogs. Your guests don't need to take liberties with your dogs and bend over the top of them and wrestle them and make your dogs nervous and put them in a situation that's terrifying for them. They don't need to do that. I don't allow my guests to do that to my dogs. When you understand this, greetings on the street go different. When you understand this, you recognize that, that dog that's coming towards us, that's pulling on the end of its leash and yapping and not under control, and the owner's like, don't worry, he's friendly. Like, that dog's got knives inside of his mouth. This dog that I have on a leash has knives inside of his mouth. They don't need to meet when that dog is, acting as foolish as it's acting, and the owner is as clueless as the owner is. When you understand that your dog is an animal with traits inside of it that can cause real damage, those things go differently. And not only that, you look at training the animal differently. I can't tell you how many times I'm dealing with somebody that their dog has shown some real aggressive tendencies, some real aggressive behavior, bitten people, whatever. Like, oh, but he's just so cute, and he's such a good dog. Here's a news flash. Every dog that shows aggression and bites people is probably a good dog 80 to 90 to 95% of the time. But that doesn't matter, because what does matter is that 5% of the time when he's trying to get aggressive is going to cause you and other people and dogs around you a big problem unless you get it under control. And that's critical that you do get it under control. And so when you understand that you don't have a fluffy little child who wouldn't hurt a fly living inside your home, and that you have an animal with knives that can hurt others, you have to do things differently. When you don't understand those things, you're putting yourself in a position where you might go your whole dog owning life and never have a problem. Or you might find yourself in the position that a lot of the folks that I talk with are in, to where this dog, maybe they've had 10 dogs before, but this dog is a dog that's biting, that's doing these things, that's anxious, that's aggressive, that's using those knives in a way that's inappropriate. So think about that. Think about that when you're raising, training, interactions with your dog. Not a furry little kid. It's a furry little animal. And that's awesome. But you have to treat it differently than a furry little kid.